Welcome to this edition of Labor Vision. I'm Bob Delaney, Executive Director of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. Labor Vision, a production of the Institute, focuses on topics of importance to working Rhode Island families. We hope you enjoy this evening's edition. Welcome to this edition of Labor Vision. I'm Bob Delaney. With the upcoming election, there are a number of bond issues that citizens will have to be informed on to make an educated decision. Of most importance is the question on the higher education bond. And I'm very pleased in this edition to introduce to you tonight Dr. Frank Sánchez is the president of Rhode Island College. Everybody in Rhode Island knows about Rhode Island College. And Dr. Colleen Callahan, who is the director of professional issues for the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and on the State Board of Education. I'd like to welcome you to this edition.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. This is a really important issue. And I think the three of us are all educators, have a rich history in education, but understand the importance of high quality and the use of technology in teacher education programs. Rhode Island College has been a regional and national leader since 1854. That speaks well and bodes well for the institution. Before we go any further, I want to welcome you, Frank, to not just the program, but to Rhode Island. Now, you're not brand new, you're relatively
new.
new.
Second year.
Yeah.
And you have really made a huge improvement. There is a upbeat feeling about Rhode Island College, and I can't think of a better time for this bond issue to come forward and the support that you have shown for teacher education programs. If the opportunity came, and it probably did and it will, where you get the opportunity to speak to somebody about this question on the bond for $25 million going to improve Horace Mann, what would you say to people to encourage them to participate and be positive and vote for the bond issue?
No, it's a great question, Bob. I appreciate it. I would tell any of your viewers to say this is an incredibly exciting time when you think about the future of teacher education and our teachers in the state of Rhode Island. And a lot of it has to do with this bond. It's going to allow us to put in $25 million to modernize our entire teacher education building. And the reason why it's exciting is because we have spent the last 18 months reimagining the future of teacher preparation in the state. We've engaged with national thought leaders, Arizona State University, University of Virginia, Baylor University, some of the top schools in New York City, because the way we prepare teachers has changed. Any of your viewers who are teachers or administrators know the complexities today in our schools. And we also know the impact of a highly trained, highly prepared teacher and the difference it can make in our children's lives. And so it's a very exciting time to think that now, Horace Mann hasn't had any major renovations for nearly a half a century. The curriculum, the technology that now can be deployed to better prepare our teachers is really holding tightly to this bond approval. And so we're very excited, but I think that's what I would tell any voter to say, and why I would certainly encourage their support for question number 2.
I think it's important that we talk about when you say Horace Mann has not had improvements for a long time. And Colleen, in your position, both as the Director of Professional Issues and the work that you do with Rick, I also want to tell people you spent time in Horace Mann a couple of years ago.
A few years ago.
And looked in the window at teacher practices at the time as a student. Has there been a lot of change at Horace Mann from the time that you were there to now, and why is it important?
Oh my goodness, well, it wasn't 1854, I'll tell you that, but it really was in the early 70s, and I got both of my first 2 degrees at Rhode Island College, my undergraduate degree and my master's degree, and I always tell people how well Rhode Island College prepared me to be a teacher. And I was a teacher in Rhode Island, in Lincoln, Rhode Island, for 25 years, and felt that my preparation, both at the undergraduate and the graduate level, was much more than adequate. It was actually stellar. And I think it trained me not only to be a teacher, but to be a teacher leader, and I see Rhode Island College continuing to do that. When I was at Rhode Island College, we spent a lot of time in Horace Mann. And our classes were focused around Horace Mann, our ability to get together and see the kind of curriculum tools that were available in classrooms at the time, really centered around the curriculum center there. And I have to tell you that now in my role at the Federation of Teachers, and lucky enough to do some work at Rhode Island College, I've had the opportunity to go to meetings in that building. And I was surprised that not a lot has changed. While at the same time, the work I do in schools and the work we do supporting our teachers and our administrator partners, the work that goes on in schools has changed greatly. And so the opportunity to reimagine, and again, being lucky enough to work with your great faculty at Rhode Island College in some of this reimagining of what's needed in terms of the highest quality teacher preparation at Rhode Island College, I know what their vision is, and they're looking at the cutting edge kinds of things that should be done to prepare future teachers to do the best job they can in the environments in which our students are learning. And without the support for Question 2, without this $25 million to help finalize, if you will, the good work that's been done in planning the Reimagined Teacher Preparation Program, I think we'll fall a little short. But with this work, we will have teachers be able to work in simulated environments and use the same kind of technology they're using out in the real world. I think we will continue, in fact, elevate the kind of work that Rhode Island College does.
Yeah, if I could just add that, that's absolutely right. The approval of Question 2 is going to allow us to regain Rhode Island College's prominence in teacher preparation, not just in the state, but in the region. One of the goals we had at the very beginning as we began to rethink the curriculums, we said we wanted our students not only to be competitive for jobs in Rhode Island, but highly competitive for any teaching position in the state, and frankly, competitive for any teaching position in the nation. And so with that in mind, we began to unpack the curriculum and redesign the type of experiences to make that happen. I mentioned some of the technology that's being used around the country. There's new, not too unlike, the medical profession today. Certainly the new Nursing Education Center in downtown Providence has the new simulation technology. That actually very similar technology is evolving in teacher preparation programs where you have video coaching and video analysis. Part of the vision of the new building would be able to host an entire class from one of our neighboring schools, whether it's elementary school, middle school, or high school, hosted in the building so that our students can engage, and it's all digitized so that then they can walk out and then get coached and guided in terms of how the teaching strategies they're using or the ways they're engaging students. And it can happen far earlier in their college experience instead of waiting to their junior year, and that's the first time they're getting the exposure to the classroom. Part of this new design of the curriculum is from day one, prospective teachers and teacher education will begin to get exposed to the classroom experience.
I think that's so important too. I think two things. There are so many people who remember what it was like to be in the classroom, and that's what they remember as a teacher and a teacher experience. And I can tell you from having had my degree in education and spent time in a classroom, I probably learned more in a classroom in 100 days of being a student teacher than I did in all of the years of preparation before that. And I think it's absolutely critical when you talk about the use of technology and the importance of technology and the being able to look at your practice in the classroom and compare it, because if we can, in the building trades, have simulated welders, and in the medical profession, we can have simulators for cardiac surgery. That same kind of technology is important for one of the most important jobs we have, which is educating students for tomorrow. So talk to me about the importance of Horace Mann and that technology in teacher practice.
One of the things I'm thinking about, I'm actually looking at this in two ways. So the idea that President Sánchez said about early and often practice, observation, practice, debriefing, being able to go back and rewind the tape in the old lingo to take a look at exactly what happened. That's going to enable future teachers to get started earlier. I'm thinking as well that current teachers will benefit from that whether they're in a master's degree program or they're taking some other kind of course, I work with teachers all the time that are just beginning to feel comfortable using and watching a videotape of their practice, of sitting down with a colleague and kind of peeling away the onion to talk about how did that work? How did that student, oh, let's look at that again. To think that Rhode Island College would be able to support current teachers as well, using that facility, the needs of our kids, the ability to think about the situations in which they learn best. Imagine being able to bring future teachers, current teachers, master teachers, and faculty at RIC to look at those kinds of things in that setting. That's what I think this bond issue will do.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to build on a comment you made, how do we assess the needs of our students? One of the things, beyond just engaging national thought leaders, we talk to Rhode Island teachers. Yeah. Rhode Island principals and superintendents, and we heard very clearly for the state of Rhode Island to move forward, there are very specific skill sets and competencies that today's teachers need to have. And so, for example, one of the exciting things of this curriculum we're going to launch just this fall of 19, we're going to launch this new curriculum, but every single graduate walking out with a degree in teacher education at Rhode Island College will be either endorsed in ELL. If you talk to the superintendent of schools in Providence, he'll tell you he needs 1,000 teachers that are ELL trained. The superintendent of Central Falls will say 100% of their teachers need to be ELL trained. So going through this program, every student will have a choice to be endorsed, either in ELL or we've also heard in special education. There's a significant need. And so that's part of the redesign, the reimagine. We said instead of making students have to take another semester or another year of classes to get certified, we said let's bake it in. Yeah. Let's bake it into the curriculum, and that's where the really hard work, and kudos to our faculty and to our co-deans that have been the driving force in making this happen over the last 18 months. It's really exciting. As I started out my remarks, this bond and its approval is a very exciting time for Rhode Islanders as we think about K-12 and the experience their children are going to have in schools. When today, again, 43% of all recent certificates in teacher education came from Rhode Island College, nearly half of all teachers being certified this next year will be coming from Rhode Island College. This type of training and this type of preparation is just critical to the future of the state.
I think pre-preparation teaching, preparation is so critical in terms of ensuring that teachers have the skills and knowledge to be successful in the classroom. But Colleen, you mentioned about current practicing teachers, teachers who may have 10 years in. I often think the numbers of people that went into the teaching profession and leave after 3 or 4 years because there's no support systems in place. There's not maybe a unit of professional development. And I see this bond issue responding to a need for preparing teachers and then post-preparation for ongoing professional development, because I think most teachers, as you say, have a relationship with RIC, and you want that relationship to continue, and you want them to be well informed so they can be good mentors for teachers, new teachers in the classroom. And I can't express enough how important this bond issue is and how critical it is. And I think that without a doubt, Rhode Island College has always and will always lead in the forefront of teacher education.
Well, this is going to allow us, to your point about mentoring and coaching, this is going to allow us to put steroids on the mentoring and coaching experience, because now we're going to look beyond just observations in a classroom to now part of the curriculum through this new kind of coaching, video coaching and video analysis. It's going to be part of the entire curriculum where they're going to get feedback and input and guidance and mentoring all along the way, instead of, again, the last year or the last year and a half of their degree. And it's going to have a huge impact on our teachers' readiness to go out to the classroom. And also, one of the charges I gave our co-deans is I said, I want our graduates to be highly prepared, not whether it's in a rural setting, a suburban setting, or an urban setting.
Correct.
And so what are the skills so that our graduates can have those type of choices to be effective and competitive for those teaching jobs? And I think we've done that well.
I couldn't agree more. President Sánchez, I want to thank you for coming. Dr. Callahan, I want to thank you for coming. The discussion today is so critical. the discussion around public school education and the preparation of teacher training is central to this whole bond issue. We encourage you to participate in the discussion. We encourage you to vote yes on 2. Again, I want to thank the 2 of you, not just for showing on this show, but for your commitment to education, to the economic development of the state, and to the education of our future students. Thank you for watching this edition of Labor Vision. We hope that it informed you in particular on this question. We look forward to hearing any of your questions or comments. Thank you for watching.
Welcome to Labor Vision. My name is Tom Carr. For this segment, we've got our wonderful Secretary of State, Nellie Gorbea, with us. As I've said before, she is probably our hardest working public official, safeguarding our electoral processes for us. Madam Secretary, thanks for being here to explain to our viewers tonight that they don't just have to vote in person anymore. Can you give them an overview of their options?
Sure.
Now?
Absolutely. But I want to recap, because I know in a previous segment we did talk about voter registration, and
Correct.
I do want to throw out there vote.ri.gov,
Oh, absolutely.
which has a lot of information, including how to do all of these different types of voting. But you have to be registered in order to be able to vote. So that's step number 1. One of the messages that we want to make sure voters know about, because particularly in your case of our viewers or labor folks, they lead complicated lives. And you can't always go on election day during the hours posted. And so there are 3 ways to vote in Rhode Island. You can do a mail ballot, you can do an emergency ballot, and you can vote in person on the election day itself. And so we're trying to spread the word out, because for a lot of working folks, it's tough. I think that the reasons people don't vote are complicated. They're not just that they think that it doesn't matter, or, I don't want to do this. I think we need to make sure that voters understand what are their options. So right now, for example, you can fill out an application to get a ballot mailed to your house. And so what you do is you fill out the application, which you can find on our website, sign it, send it to your local board of canvassers. You'll receive your ballot in the mail to your house with an envelope that actually has postage prepaid. So you don't have to worry about that. You can fill it out, and then once you've inserted the voted ballot into the oath envelope, you seal it, and you print your name, sign it. Then 2 individuals or a notary must witness your signature. So there's a process that's a little bit more involved, but that's to verify that you are indeed a real person that's submitting this ballot. And then you mail it, or you hand deliver it to your local boards of canvassers. The deadline for all mail ballots is that they have to be received at the Board of Elections on Branch Avenue in Providence by 8 p.m. on Election Day.
There is a process for actually getting those mail ballots in. It's in the envelope signed and returned into the Board of Board of Elections, I should say. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And we can tell you, you'll be able to tell in vote.ri.gov, once you've applied, we've mailed you your ballot. If you feel like it hasn't arrived in a timely manner or whatever, we have a way of, because we have tracking mechanisms on those to figure out where it might be.
And do you know when your ballot has gotten into?
Received?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Even
as well.
better. Oh, that's fantastic.
So now, if they miss the date for handling or mailing in the mail ballot, you can always go in person to city or town hall 20 days before the election. In those 20 days, there's a type of almost early voting, in the sense that you tell the clerk that you're there for an emergency ballot.
Yep.
They will give you an application. You will fill that out. They will notarize at that time your signature. You then are given the ballot. You fill out. Usually people just fill out right there and then stick it into this envelope again that helps keep your vote secret.
Right.
You just have. It's an easy process. It's a little bit paper intensive. I had a bill to streamline it by actually calling it early voting and having a polling location open. It didn't make it through the session,
right.
but I do want voters to know that there are 3 ways to vote. 21 days before an election, as of right now, you could just print out that application for a mail ballot and have the ballot mailed to your house. and it'll have all the instructions, everything you need there. You can, 20 days within, those 20 days before the election, you can do an emergency ballot at city or town hall. And then there's actual election day. Go to vote.ri.gov, put in their information, and then you'll see where it is that you need to go vote if you want to go vote on that particular day, what the deadlines are, what the process are. We have very simple instructions online so that you can vote.
Take advantage of what you guys have got out there. Take advantage of the website because it's updated.
I'm proud to say that all of our apps are being developed in-house by state employees. I mean, on occasion we've had to, you have contracts with people and stuff, but it's really managed and developed by state employees. And so I think that rather than go to like another website or get information, also go to vote.ri.gov.
Yeah, you guys do a great job with your website. I mean, we use it all the time in our office. I mean, it's a great tool. So we use it. There's no doubt about it. If you have, I'm talking about it glowingly already, so it is a success. I know a lot of people take advantage of it. So would you consider expanding it going forward? Would you reintroduce that bill again for early voting, do you think?
Absolutely. I'm going to continue to have this conversation with the legislature. I think people want it. We've seen in emergency ballots alone, we've seen a huge increase since 2012. And that was part of the reason why all the clerks actually supported the bill, because they understood that this very paper-intensive process of the application and the secrecy envelope and all that could go away if you just have an open polling location 20 days before the election. And so, yes, I will be resubmitting that legislation. The other thing that my bill did, which I'm sad to say didn't make it through either, is I would love to see 4 hours on a Saturday, 4 hours on a Sunday before the election. Again, for working people who have like really strict Monday through Friday kind of timelines, they can't make it to city or town hall. In my case, I live in North Kingstown. I work in Providence. I mean, for me to go back into town to go vote basically would take the entire lunch period by the time you get down there and you figure out, so where you're going. So I want to make it as easy as possible for working people to be able to exercise this really important right to vote.
And I'm pretty much in the same situation. I live in Charlestown.
Yes.
And work in Providence. So
so you're not taking your lunch hour to go down there.
There's no lunch hour for me to go down and vote. So it's like I either have to get there first thing in the morning and hope there's not a long line. And I think, in 2018 there were issues with lines and people getting shut off in certain places, not like every place.
Yes, we only had a couple of places.
I think it was mostly Providence and Pawtucket, right?
Pawtucket, and a couple of places in the east side. Yeah. We've actually tackled that with the Board of Elections, who manages Election Day, to try to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right. So, that's something.
But it's more the inconvenience of just having to go down somewhere. So if you could do it on a Saturday or Sunday, it'd be
have
much
a place
easier.
Open on a weekend.
But it's not happening this cycle, unfortunately.
No.
So let's go back to what we can do.
Right.
You can, however, get a ballot mailed to your house.
It's near and dear to my heart. My son puts in for the mail ballot because he's in the Peace Corps and he's in Morocco, and I've already checked with him and he's already done that. So we're taken care of there. So like I said, it's something that we take care of. But now, like we wanted to focus on vote.ri.gov. So how about we talk about that a little bit? I mean, there are things people can do there. So why don't we talk about your website a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of things that you can find out on the website. First and foremost, whether your voter information is accurate. That there doesn't have to be some sort of updating to your voter information. Right. Help us keep clean our voter lists, and you and everybody else in your family can help us do that. So by going into that website, because you can actually edit and fix any kind of issues in terms of having moved or new information. That's really important. If for some reason things get jammed up and you can't find yourself, this sometimes happened if you've changed your last name, or in the case of Hispanics, like me, we have 2 last names, and sometimes people forget, did I register under Nellie Gorbea or Nellie Gorbea Diaz? So we can help you at the Division of Elections at the Secretary of State's office. And you can just call 222-2340, and somebody will be happy to help you.
a section for people's voting rights. And why is that important for citizens?
Voting right, it is so important for us to know of our voting rights. And so that's why we put that on the website. A lot of people have, even died so that we can have these voting rights. The other thing that I want to make sure that people understand is while we do have a photo ID requirement here in Rhode Island, if for some reason your driver's license has expired when you get to the polling location, or you changed purses and you didn't bring it with you, if you don't have time to come again, or you just don't feel like coming back again, you can ask for a provisional ballot at the polling location. There is no reason why anyone on election day should be turned away without voting. You tell the poll worker that you need a provisional ballot, fill out the application, and then the election officials decide whether or not you're an actual duly registered voter. There's the check and balances process. But that's something that's very important to me, because I know I've heard on occasion, sometimes because of confusion, people don't know, they don't ask. The poll worker may have misunderstood the instructions. And so if you have some sort of issue with the photo ID, the solution to it is to ask for a provisional ballot.
Okay. So people at the ballot box need to have an ID. Okay, that's important.
It's a photo ID, and it's actually, you can find out more about it on our website as well.
Okay, and we talked earlier about people can also find out how they can get more involved at the polling place.
That's right.
By becoming a poll worker.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, so I would love to see more people at the polls representing the true diversity of Rhode Island electorate. Mm-hmm. And so, in fact, last election cycle, I actually had a program with Amica where they actually gave some of their workers who volunteered to want to work at the polling locations, they let them have that day without having to count against their personal or vacation. Oh. Because I think for a lot of working folks, that's part of the challenge is, I don't want to take a personal vacation day to go work at the polls for 16 hours plus the 3-hour training. But I want to encourage anybody who might have that flexibility to join up and help us staff those polls on election day. You get trained by the Board of Elections to do it. I did it myself in one of the primary cycles before I was Secretary of State. It's hugely informative. It really helps you understand how the process works. There's a lot of checks and balances that I think protect our right to vote. And if you have young people, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, they love them at the polling locations as poll workers. You can absolutely work as a 16 or 17-year-old in your town. So have them sign up, do the training, and for them, the money is always good. Yeah,
I think it's funny because I worked there. I worked in a couple of polling places when I was in college, and I thought it was hysterical because I was working with people who were like my grandmother's age, and it was an intergenerational thing. It is. And it was the talk going back and forth was just hysterical. It was it's like it was good play. It was like a play going back and forth.
And it's a real community building exercise.
Absolutely.
I think it really, particularly for 16 and 17-year-olds who can't yet vote, it gives them that feeling of being a part of something. And I think really helps instill in them the importance of voting. So I absolutely encourage anybody who has a 16 or 17-year-old who's pre-registered to go ahead and do this, because it's a great experience.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think we're getting towards the end of this episode, so thank you very much for coming on and coming in today and letting people know exactly what they need to do for this year's elections.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for watching Labor Vision.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Labor Vision. We appreciate your input and encourage your comments. Labor Vision can be seen on this channel 3 times each week: Tuesday at 7 p.m., Thursday at 8 p.m., and Saturday at 5 p.m.